Farmers, lock up your hens, we're breeding foxes. This is our review of the Fox Experiment.
The Fox Experiment is an open drafting, roll and write game about breeding foxes, and I really like how the offspring can become the powerful parents in the next round.
I was really looking forward to playtesting this at Gen Con, but I wasn't really wowed, so I was hoping when we got the finished product I would be wowed, but I wasn't. I'll tell you why after this quick how to play.
The game is played over 5 rounds, with each player breeding baby foxes.
In the first phase of each round, players choose a mom and dad from a draft pool and roll dice based on those on the cards.
Players will check off the completed symbol shown, which will give them trait chips.
The symbols will also show which dice the baby foxes will provide as they help fill the draft pool for the next round.
Players continue playing by breeding foxes, completing study cards, and accomplishing bonuses on their player boards.
After 5 rounds, the player with the most points wins. Before we get to talking foxes, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button.
All your likes and subscribes really help us out, so thank you.
So when this game was announced leading up to Gen Con in 2022, I think it was, a couple years back, and they had the workers at Pandasaurus, so they didn't really understand the game that much. They kept going back to the printed off rulebook. It wasn't a finalized rulebook. So I was thinking, well, maybe I'm not wowed by it because of the experience. We're not getting properly taught. Maybe there's still some changes. So I'll wait for the Kickstarter to arrive. And now that we have the Kickstarter, I don't feel like too much changed. I have a rulebook that I can actually read and be 100% sure about the rules, but I still wasn't very wowed by it. The biggest part about it is the dice. I know inherently at its core, it's a roll and write game. There's a lot more here. It's not just a pad of paper and you're writing based on your dice. There's a lot more to it, and I like what they added. However, ultimately, it's a dice game, and I was hoping that the other stuff would help mitigate how much I don't like the dice, but it didn't really. In the 4th and 5th round, yeah, the dice don't matter too much, but then it has another problem, which is I just don't feel like there's any consequence to anything that you're doing because you have so many dice or so many bonus tiles or so much is going on that you can basically just do whatever you want without even rolling the dice.
When we first play tested at Gen Con, I went in with knowing nothing, right? It's like, hey, Lee, we have an appointment. Let's sit down. So I sat down. I'm like, all right, this is fresh. And so I was like, all right, let's see. And then he told me, Elizabeth Hargrave with Wingspan. I was like, okay, let's see what this is. I like how it's different. So pretty much nothing like Wingspan. In terms of play, it was a play test. So you're right, not much has changed.
We didn't play all the way through then. I think we only played like 3 rounds. We only had time for like 3 rounds.
Yeah, not a lot changed from what we play tested, so it's still pretty much the same. But yeah, there was that one while we're playing and we'll ask questions like, oh, what does this mean? And they'll flip, and like, hold on. And they'll walk away and go ask someone. We're like, so what are you doing? What are you going for over there? So, it was a good chance to kind of chat with the other people that we were playtesting with, but still, it was like, oh, okay, cool.
There's a lot to it that I do like. So let me go through some of the things that I do like. It is a roll and write. Get over the fact that I don't like dice, but I like the fact that you have a mom fox and a dad fox, and you take those, and those are the dice that you get. And then what you roll, you're creating a baby fox. So every player has their baby foxes that are blank, and this is the writing aspect of it. So you're rolling the dice, and then you're writing it in. And what you write, you hope to reach certain markers, so where you have the circles, and that'll give you trait chips. And those trait chips can then be played on your player board to unlock bonuses. All of that I like. I like that once I have my dice and I have my symbols, I'm doing this, I'm trying to get my bonuses with my traits on my player boards, almost like set collection, because you need 2 types of traits to fill up these, then you need 3 of the same type of trait to fill up these, and then you need 5 types of the same trait to fill up these. So I like that aspect. And I really like the fact that after you've written your baby fox, that then replenishes the draft pool, which other players can then use on the next round. So not only do you get trait chips from the cards, you're also going to check off the squares, which are going to be the dice that you get. So you could be going after something and be like, oh, I really want this fox to be really strong because I want all these trait chips. But you could end up making a really strong fox that gives lots of dice. And if another player gets that fox the next round, you just help that other player. And I really like that there's an impact on gameplay other than just checking off boxes on a notepad type of a thing.
That mechanic of having that baby fox be next in line for the drafting pool, and they're a little bit stronger, that slowly kind of ramps up, right? Because then if you grab that baby fox and someone else's baby fox, then their baby's going to be a little bit stronger and you can roll more dice. However, you're creating like as you said, more powerful options for everyone else too. So that's where turn order comes into play. And I really like how they kind of blended that together. Some things I do appreciate though is that, yeah, you have a mom and a dad, and then the baby fox that you make, there's like, it's a 50-50. So you shuffle them up and you draw. It could be male, it could be female. So you don't choose that. Also, if you like wanted to grab your powerful like baby fox the next round to be like the mom or dad, the game limits you from grabbing like both of your cards. Like if you had two babies that were still in there, then it's like inbreeding. So
you can do it, but there's a penalty.
Yeah, there's a penalty, and there's like a kind of a scientific, like real life factual truth. Like, yeah, you don't want to do inbreeding.
I also really like that it's kind of a point salad as you're playing. Each round, the player with the highest scoring fox will score points. On your player board, there's ways to get bonus points here. You're trying to fill up the study cards. So each player will have a study card, but you can get more study cards. And as you meet certain trait requirements, then you'll get more points that way. Then there's also bonus points that you can get from the patrons. As you play on your bonuses, you can then put a fox in the patrons to then get bonus points that way. And I do feel at the end of the game, it's always pretty close. Every time we've played, it was close. I do feel like it's a really competitive game. It's just the dice rolling in those first few rounds that make me feel like it's not a whole lot of fun.
One thing that I enjoyed, not that it like made or break the game, was that we could sit there and we could name our baby foxes. So we had a little fun with that, just like super silly names or maybe inappropriate names. And it's like, I want that fox, but do I have to say it out loud what you wrote? It's like, yes, you have to say his name. Like, all right, Senior King Gigglesmith or something like, all right, I'll take him. So like I said at the top, I think the thing I really like was the baby foxes and how they became the draft pool later on and like stronger versions, or like kind of really helped you get more dice as the rounds went on.
I agree. That aspect that you're trying to make it a very strong fox so that it can help you this round, but that also makes it a very strong fox for whoever gets it next round, which could be you or could be another player. I like that thinking of, yes, I want this to be strong, but at the same time, it's like someone else gets it, they're going to get a good fox. So hopefully I get it. What did you not like about this game?
I don't think I have a solid grasp of like, okay, definitely go after this strategy or go this way in the very beginning. I mean, I guess that's good too, because you don't want a game where it's like, all right, everyone's going to do strategy A, so let's just get it out of the way and do it. With this one, I was like, oh, I could do that, but then I could do that, or I could do that, and still felt like I would still be pretty close to everyone.
Is that a dislike?
It started off as like I didn't like that I couldn't find a strategy.
So the almost complete randomness of the start, there's no direction leading you somewhere.
Yeah, like, which, I mean, that's probably a good thing, because there's always a
For some
balance
people.
of, yeah. I mean, I always think like, because we don't, I mean, some games we won't play for another year or two. So if we pick this up in a year or two, I want to, like, in my mind, I already have it programmed, like, oh, that's right, the wild dice strategy, or that's right, go after the baby fox strategy, like the extra baby fox strategy. I wanted something like that, but I couldn't find that.
So obviously the thing that I don't like is the dice, but here's why. It's not just because it's dice, as I was explaining earlier, it's that in the first 3 rounds, it upsets me that they're dice in the way that dice normally upset me, which is you only get so many and then it's all luck of the roll. If I have a really bad roll, I'm going to be doing really bad for those first 3. However, I can always get someone else's stronger fox if they have a good roll, so that does help mitigate it a little bit. Up to the point where by round 4 and 5, there are strong enough foxes, even if you're rolling bad, that you can always have enough dice that you can do anything. So at that point, the dice are meaningless. So that makes me feel like the first 3, I hate the dice for why I always hate dice, and the last 2 because they are meaningless and they almost don't even matter in the game anymore.
Overall, I had fun playing the game. I really like the production value. I like the science-y aspect of it, and it's kind of rooted in like what truly happened, like there really was a fox experiment. And then you just had those little nuances where it's like, all right, no inbreeding, okay, and if you do, there's a penalty. So I like all those. I did have fun. I don't know if we'd play it very often or again this year, so I'll probably give it like a 6.
Overall, I liked a lot of the thought process that went into this game of how to take a roll and write and make it different by having the baby foxes move on to the next round and having all the other components involved. However, the dice really just bothered me. A, that they were dice, and B, that later on in the game they were kind of meaningless, so it kind of just felt like you could have come up with something better. It gets a lot of points for being creative and being very interesting with its mechanics, but it loses points because I didn't really have fun with it. So overall, I'm going to give it a 5. And that was our review of The Fox Experiment.
What'd you think? Do you think this game is foxy? Let us know in the comments below.
And if you're enjoying our content, please like this video and subscribe to our channel.
Until next time, I'm Lee.
I'm Kenny, and go party like a board gamer.